Hey everybody, for breakfast I didn't really have anything. For lunch I had some food at work, like just the meat and cheese of the sandwich. And for dinner I had some leftover pizza. Yesterday I had a really incredible time with my friends, I do want to mention that. After therapy I hung out with my friends, we were going to go to this boba tea place near the beach, but the beach, it's not near the ocean, but like it's a beach, there's a beach with waves. Um, uh, but the boba tea place we were going to go to was closed because of bad weather, which makes sense because it was dark and rainy, so it was bad weather. But we met up there. I took a bus there from therapy, and my buddy drove my other two buddies, and one of which was my awesome New York friend from New York. She's from Seattle, but she went to New York for college, so that's why we're hanging out. And yeah, then we were looking for a place to eat. We ended up going to this Mexican place with and I got a chimichanga, and that was really tasty. They had red lights though. There weren't any lights that weren't red, so all photos were bright red. It was crazy. And so I would show people the photo of the chimichanga. I'd be, look, I had a red chimichanga, but it's funny because the chimichanga wasn't red, but the light was red. So it's like, look at my red chimichanga, and I thought that was really funny. And then after that, we went to a boba tea place, and then the principal came in. Like, the principal of our high school came into the boba tea place, and that was a little crazy. Small world, right? But God, that was wild. That was really weird. I got like a taro. Is that how you pronounce it? Taro boba tea with 50% sugar and tapioca. When I get 50% sugar, I'm like, man, this is a sweet drink. Like, I can't imagine getting 100% sugar in a boba tea, because I think it's like maybe 8,000% of your daily sugar intake. They put 18 trillion grams of sugar in there, I'm afraid. I'm afraid they put 18 trillion grams of sugar. And then we hung out in my friend's car for like 4 hours, and we just talked. It was incredible. And then we stopped hanging out at like midnight. And it was a lot of fun, because we started hanging out at like 5. So yesterday, there's this wonderful fellow by the name of Bob the Pop-Op on YouTube, and he only has 160,000 subscribers, but he does these incredible reactions to albums. And it's usually in this format. He's listening to them. It's usually very long form. Like, this video is almost 3 hours long, and it's crazy. Like, he's listening a whole lot of Red, and he's got the lyrics open. Like, I don't know if he's gonna get too much lyrical content from No Sleep, but I just really appreciate the depth he goes into a lot of things, because I feel like, particularly with his the Life of Pablo reaction, like, he just puts in so much effort, and he's like he puts in so much effort to where sometimes I think he finds meaning in places where there might not be any. Like, maybe he just didn't finish that verse on a 30 hours. Maybe he just didn't finish that verse, and maybe it's not like him getting distracted from him like, I don't, sometimes he goes a little too far, but I find that a little endearing, and frankly, I think it, shines a lot more meaning into the songs than, I could. I could on my own. I'm not going to sit down with an album for 3 hours. I'm just not that type of person, respectfully. And so I think it's cool that I'm able to sort of channel this level of appreciation of music. But just yesterday, so after Kanye said all that crazy stuff, like on Alex Jones and such, he stopped doing Kanye reactions, and he had just finished reacting to Ye. He just finished reacting to Ye. And Kanye said all that crazy stuff. He's like, hey, I'm not going to do any Kanye reactions for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to listen to Vultures or anything. And, everybody was like, okay with that. The crazy Kanye freaks weren't okay with that, but I'm not a freak. No offense to the Kanye freaks out there, but what am I saying? But recently he did a Jesus is King reaction, which is the album after Ye. He was talking about how the sort of big aversion that he had from Kanye West music after he said that sort of thing had sort of gone away, and it's a lot of it sort of in the past. He sort of pseudo apologized about it quite a few times. So I mean, who knows if those apologies are the Kanye apologies are like real, but and so he's like, okay, I'm going to be doing Kanye reactions again. We're going back chronological order. So he listened to Jesus is King. He liked it, which, people hate on Jesus is King way too much. With Vultures 2 coming out, it's definitely not his worst album. Like, Jesus is King definitely isn't his worst album after Vultures 2. But I feel like even before Vultures 2, I feel like Jesus is King wasn't his worst album. I don't know. That's crazy. That's crazy to say. Maybe it was his worst album, but it's still like a 6 out of 10. You know, like it's still a good album. But anyway, yeah. So then I saw yesterday when I got home from hanging out with my friends, he uploaded his Donda reaction. I was like, oh man, we got the Donda reaction. He's gonna listen to Junia, you know. And for oh god, okay, that's fine. I think I just went ahead by 2 seconds. Or 5 seconds. Now, I will say, before I talk about this video, I'm financially inclined to be in support of Donda, the album, because I have a lot of merchandise from, well, I don't have, like, Donda event merchandise, but I do have a lot of Yeezy Gap clothing, and, like, you know, Yeezy Gap and Donda are one and the same. Like, the music video for Heaven and Hell is a Yeezy Gap commercial. Like, the music video for Heaven and Hell is an advertisement for you know, you can't really see it. It's an ad for this hoodie, you know. I could just turn my light on. Yeah, the music video for Heaven and Hell is a advertisement for this hoodie, you know. And, you know, I also have a lot of other, you know, Yeezy Gap clothing. And the thing is that, so I'm a little biased here. You know, you know, I like the clothes and I really like the whole era and the vibe. And I think when a lot of people talk about Donda and they think about Donda and they refer to Donda very positively, like, what they're thinking of is, like, the vibe and, like, Kanye's outfits and, like, the Yeezy Gap stuff and, like, the listening events. But they're not thinking of, like, remote control, you know? When I feel like when you're talking about the album, I think that, for real, when you're thinking of the album, you shouldn't even think about the listening events. The listening events and the album are, like, different things. Like, you know, like, they're just very obviously very different things. Yeah, like, obviously, right? They're different things. Yeah, sure, they're sort of inseparable in the fact that, you know, the way that people experience the album for a really long time was through these, like, sort of elaborate sort of performance art pieces, right? But you come out with the album on Apple Music, right? And you send it out and you release it. You can't, like, you know, it goes like yay, Jesus is King, Donda, right? You can't just hold this one album in a different regard to, like, all these other albums just because they're associated with these, you know, very good listening events. I don't know. Does that make sense? So I just want to say I'm inclined to be in support of Donda, and frankly, I really like Donda. You know, my favorite Kanye album is probably, I want to say it's Yay, which is crazy, and then close runner-up, The Life of Pablo, or Late Registration. You know, that's the ranking in my head. But the thing is sometimes, you know, I'm walking to work and I put on Donda, and man, I hear Donda chant "Go into jail," and I'm like, that's crazy, you know. And then, you know, I'm listening to Jonah and I'm listening to that barcode reader beat, and I'm like, that's crazy, you know. Nobody else could do that, you know. And then I'm listening to, like, and then I'm listening to Julia, and Cardi comes in and he's like 4 or 5 summers, and I'm like, man, that's and then he says and then Kanye says born in Atlanta, not Montana, and I'm like, that's crazy, you know. And it sort of sounds like I'm making a joke here, but for real, to me it's a very entertaining album. And, you know, you look at my top 5 most listened to songs, like Junia Part 2 from Donda is like my 3rd most listened to song from this year, right? I'm really into Donda, very big Donda fan. And so it's a shame that I'm watching this person who I very heavily respect watch this album, and you can kind of tell by his face, he just listened to Heaven and Hell, which I think is a pretty good song. It used to be my favorite song off Donda, but I actually think it's kind of, you know, definitely not the best song on Donda. And, you know, he's hating a little bit, respectfully, he's hating a little bit. And I don't know, I definitely understand where he's coming from. And he, you know, something interesting that he describes the album as, he says it's sort of like, you know, like aimless, and it's just kind of wandering and, you know, something that he commented on, and he didn't say this exactly, but this is like, I don't think I'm incorrect when I say that this might be his position, that, you know, like the death of Kanye's mother obviously affected him very deeply, but you don't see that, like, you see it in the music, you don't hear about it in the music. Like, there was never, like Kanye never had a Mr. Morale, you know? There was never, like, a sort of, like a sort of a facing of this thing that happened, you know what I mean? And it's never really talked about in the music. And so, you know, he opens up this album named after his mother, you know, and he expects it to be a dedication album, like an album in dedication to his mother. And there's this DaBaby short I've seen where, and I think DaBaby's on Jail Part 2. God. And he's talking about, like, something he mentions is when he was talking, he's, like, referencing, like, when he was working with Kanye on Donda, and he said, Donda, you know, the album named after his mother, not dedicated to his mother, which is interesting. It makes me wonder if that's something he said to him, like, you know, Kanye said to him, as, like, you know, this album isn't dedicated to my mother, it's named after my mother. Like, I think that's an interesting distinction to make. The album art is very mournful. I find it interesting. Like, it's not as if you just so happened to name the album after your mom. Like, you know, and I know that, anyway, I don't know. My thoughts are kind of fractured on this. I think, you know, Anthony Fantano said something really interesting about Donda, where he talks about how he's sort of coming at a lot of these sort of Jesus is King themes in sort of a very, like, the Life of Pablo type of way, where it seems very disconnected and strange, but there's sort of like, you know, there's sort of like a broader theme in its sort of disconnection, you know, in its sort of how sort of, like, you listen to the Life of Pablo, it just seems like they just put a bunch of songs in there, right? And frankly, I think that's a lot more like, don't quote me on this, I don't know if the Pablo Picasso, Saint Pablo, I forgot the third Pablo Picasso, Pablo Escobar? I don't know. There's so many, I don't know if that's, like, I think that might be, like, Fanon. Like, I think that's, like, sort of I don't know how real that, let me look that up. Pablo Picasso? Pablo Escobar? How am I gonna look, because I don't know if this is a real thing that people talk about. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's canon. Okay. I didn't know if it was like some sort of fan explanation to explain the yeah, see? That's sick. That's really cool. Man, Life of Pablo is such a good album. Anyway, yeah, so it's just a shame because he's calling the Donda disjointed when, frankly, like, the Life of Pablo is disjointed in the same way, you know? And I feel like, you know, there's obviously a lot of value in the Life of Pablo. It's had a lot of time to sit and sort of, you know, affect how things have changed, and obviously the Life of Pablo is a very good and very influential album, you know? You know, if Kanye didn't say that stuff on Alex Jones, it would have been on that Apple Music list. That's all I'm saying. So would have a couple other Kanye West. Like, he's such a talented artist. But anyway, and it's just, I don't know. It's just strange. It's a shame. It's a shame because Donda's such a good album. And it makes me sad that someone I respect online doesn't feel the same way. But, you know, what can you do? And also, frankly, I think that maybe I'm the weird one here. Is anybody really bumping Donda aside from me and, like, people who have Vultures 2 profile pictures, you know? Like, who's really doing this? You know, I mean, you know, yeah, bye. I don't know. Okay, sure, yeah.